Number 1. The Green Children of Woolpit. During the Middle Ages, two bizarre children, a brother and sister, spontaneously appeared in the village of Woolpit in rural England. The pair was reportedly found in a wolf pit, wearing unfamiliar clothing, speaking an unknown language and having green-hued skin. Brought to the village, both hid and refused to eat for several days before discovering and eagerly devouring a stone of raw beans. The young boy was very sick and died, but the young girl slowly recovered, lost her green tongue, and learned to speak English. She was eventually able to communicate that she had come from a land of twilight called St. Martin, where the sun never shone and everything was bathed in green. The young girl arrived from the exotic land, however, remained an enigma. She would only recall tending to a herd of cattle with her brother before hearing a loud and sudden sound. Number 2. Man from Tauret. In 1954, a strange Caucasian man supposedly arrived at Tokyo Haneda Airport in possession of never-before-seen passport. The man claimed to be from the country of Tauret and became agitated when he found Andorra in its place on world map. His business documents proved to be invalid, but the passport appeared genuine and had been stamped at the airports around the world. Curiously, the passport had 5 years of stamps from Tokyo, even though Haneda's only opened to international flights in 1952. That the men spoke several languages, carried European currencies and claimed the Tauret had existed for centuries added to the mystery. While authorities investigated the man's assertions, he slipped out of the room in which he was being held and disappeared. Number 3. Atsuro Byun. A number of Japanese sources recount the strange arrival of an attractive young woman in the sea near Hitachi in 1803. She was found by local fishermen in an ominous hollow boat made of metal plates with transparent crystal windows. The young woman was said to have pale white skin and bright red hair, and she could not understand when she spoke, while in her possession was a small square box that she nervously clutched despite seeming otherwise friendly. Her origin was never determined as locals were so concerned by her peculiar craft and box that they cast her back out to sea. Number 4. Zophar Warren. Appearing in the April's 1851 issue of the British journal Athenaeum was the story of a lost stranger calling himself Zophar Warren. He was found wandering disoriented in a small village near Frankfurt, Germany. Having no idea how he had arrived, along with speaking broken German, the traveler spoke and wrote in unknown languages he called Laxarian and Brahmian. He represented that he had from a country called Laxaria in an area of the globe called Sakria, separated from Europe by a vast ocean. His purpose for traveling to Europe, he claimed, was to seek a long-lost brother, but his last memory was of becoming shipwrecked somewhere along his voyage. Number 5. Jeremy. In 1863, an unidentifiable man washed upon the bench of Sandy Cave, Nova Scotia, missing both of his legs from recent amputation. Most sources suggest the man did not understand any of the major languages. but muttered a name sounding like Jerome. He could not identify his origin, but locals recalled spotting a ship of a type never before seen prior to his discovery. Jerome lived in near silence the rest of his days, except for the curious incident. There is an account of a visit by two finely dressed women who took him in private and communicated in an unknown language before they vanished as quickly, as mysteriously as they came. Number 6. Carol Chase McElhay, Riverside, California, home to Etta James and the world's largest paper cup. It's also home to Carol Chase McElhay. While traveling from San Bernardino to Paris, California, Carol decided to stop by her old stomping grounds of Riverside. However, when she arrived, nothing was as she remembered it. Landmarks had changed, streets were named differently, even the cemetery where her grandparents were buried was gone, but this was not a case of quick urban development. Carol Chase McElhay said that the whole Pacific, airy and dark. Was this a case of too many psychedelics, or had Carol Chase McElhay jumped to another dimension? Number 7. Shadow People. Just the name Shadow People is enough to get you running and screaming from mommy. Don't worry, it's get worse. Shadow people are who temporarily appears in hours. If you see a shadow in your peripheral vision, looming in your door or feel it behind you, well, it could be shadow person and they could want out of their current dimensions. Author Hedy Hollis published a book on shadow people. If you see one and you want them to leave your sight accordingly to Miss Hollis, all you have to do is invoke the name of Jesus. That said, you will probably shoot Jesus when you see one of your covered regardless myth. Addicts also experience seeming shadow people, but that could just be the myth, not someone from another dimension. Number 8. Larina Gracia. You know that feeling when you are out and about, you think to yourself, everyone is just crazy today. Well, that happened in a big way to Larina Gracia. It all started when Miss Gracia woke up and she realized that the seats on her bed were different. No big deal, right? She went to work and no one knew who she was, and there was no record that she worked there. Even her boyfriend was gone. Does Miss Gracia have a case of amnesia, or did she jump dimensions in the middle of the night? Number 9. Pedro Oliva Ramirez. Pedro Oliva Ramirez was driving his car in Spain in 1986. It was a route very familiar to him. While driving from Seville, Spain to Alaska de Guadalajara, Mr. Ramirez rounded a corner only to find himself in completely uncharted territory. According to his own account, he heard a voice telling him that he had been teleported to another dimensions. The car, which passed him 8 minutes intervals, had a small license plates and seemed weirdly outdated. He kept driving only to then find himself back to home. He attempted to retrace his steps but was unable to find the another dimension. I guess this was simply a quick journey to another dimension. The Canadian hipster. It was the early 1940s in Canada. Citizens were celebrating the opening of South Fork Bridge. There were many people there in clothing that matched the times, and there was photographic evidence, but one person stood out: the hipster. Seriously, it's the photo. It's a guy in printed t-shirt, a hoodie and same pretty modern sunglasses. Fashion forwarded man or Canadian hipster from another dimension, you decide. Number 11. Chaplin's Time Traveler. Charlie Chaplin, the guy with the mystery bag. When movie didn't have sound back in 1928, Chaplin was debuting himself newest film The Circus at Cromenes Chinese Theater in Hollywood, California. Some black and white footage of the premiere was found, and it seems to show an unidentifiable woman talking on a cell phone. In the video, it clearly shows a woman talking into something next to her ear, and since it was 1928, even the flip phone has yet to be invented. Was this a visitor from another dimension, or was it a time traveler?